Hi, school board members. I am Rose Palmer. I'm the district math coach, and I'm here this time around with Angela Nelson, who is a coach over at Hadfield. So we will share some information about bridges in mathematics. We wanted to come to you at this point to let you know how is it going at Hadfield and give you some of that information.
Thanks, Rose. So we thought it was important to start out with kind of our journey with Bridges from the beginning of our work with teachers, engaging with the materials to the point where we are now. So you'll see the two darker rectangles on the timeline. Those are things that happened before the school year began. Training for teachers in June, ongoing time or additional time to prepare materials just before the start of school. And then the lighter gray pieces of the timeline show the ongoing support for planning. You can see where we have student data occurring. In September, we had a baseline assessment. We've got teacher PD once a month. And then we had that some additional data points in January with teacher perception, as well as another student data collection point. The timeline ends in January for our purposes on this slide, but we want you to know that the similar plan with similar pattern of monthly PD for teachers will plan to continue throughout the rest of the year. The next piece that we're going to look at is kind of our assessment plan when we think about student data. So you saw in our timeline those two pieces where we had that baseline assessment in September. That was our Bridges Comprehensive Growth Assessment. And then we had another assessment in January as kind of a mid-check. We wanted to talk about the focus of the content for those assessments. What you're seeing on the screen in the graphic or the chart are the domains that we focused on in terms of standard alignment. So those are the domains that we selected because they are a critical area of focus within our Wisconsin mathematics standards. The next piece that we want to share is the student data. How are we doing? You'll notice in red, that was our data in the fall when students took that comprehensive assessment, focusing in on those areas, those domains. The blue bars on the graph shows where we were, where students were performing in January, so kind of our winter or mid measure. The couple things that we wanted to point out, one, this is a comprehensive on grade level assessment. So that was important to note. And then the other thing that we were really happy to celebrate and see happening is you'll obviously notice that red bar that we saw in fall where we had students not knowing, meeting those expectations, to our largest category of the four in January being meeting expectations, with 30% of our students now meeting expectations on grade level. We're really pleased with this. And we're hopeful and pretty confident that as we continue through the year, we'll continue to see that shift in collecting more and more students into that meeting category.
Besides just doing the check-ins with students, we also wanted to get some feedback from our teachers. And so what we did was we gave them the rubric or the survey that we were going to ask of our pilot teachers. And so these are some of the same questions, or these are the same questions, but I wanted to share some specific ones with you. So the first one is Bridges is designed so that teachers and students spend sufficient time working with those engaging activities. And you can see that all of the teachers said, yes, this is what Bridges does. It gets the kids involved and gives them the time. And I think that's something significant about Bridges, because our students get 20 minutes of Number Corner in the morning, and they get the Bridges lesson also. And so they're really getting about 80 minutes of math during the day for Bridges. The other one that I have off to the side is that it talks about the strategies and supports that are offered for special populations. And we know that Hadfield has a strong special education population. And so I think this is a real positive for Bridges and for Hadfield, because they can make sure they're meeting the needs of their students. Another one we looked at was the multiple opportunities for assessments, and then providing guidance for our teachers to know what to do next. And so Bridges does provide multiple opportunities throughout the grade level. So you have those number bridge or number corner check-ins. You have assessments throughout the units. And so they can do those, they can see where their students are at, and then know what next steps are for their children. And then last one talks about how Bridges supports our English language learners. This one is a little bit varied because it has level 2 and level 3 that it either partially or fully meets this criteria. But I wanted to share that, our teachers were truly evaluating the program and noticing the pros and cons for each one. Besides that, we also asked them just an open-ended question, like, how is this impacting your students? How is it changing learning? And so I just wanted to highlight some of those. So first one is like, it gives you the information and it helps you to know what to focus on. What's the understanding? What do we need to do? And so it's very laid out so teachers can see what the next step is for their students. Another comment was about kids are being able to explain their thinking. And we know that's really important in math. So you can see on the first picture up at the top, beginning of the year assessment, when we gave that comprehensive growth assessment, many kids didn't even know where to attempt the problem or where to begin. And then the number corner, same student, but in January, you can see where they're being able to answer the question, they're being able to write equations, and to make take a problem and add some critical thinking and some reasoning to it to come up with an answer. On this page, you'll see a student up front working with Calendar Grid. And to go with this quote, it was that children are involved and excited to learn. Kids will come up front. They will share their addition to the Calendar Grid. They'll share their thinking. And that is so important for our kids. The other part it talks about is spiraling back around. So they don't just hear it once, they will hear it multiple times. And that goes into this one where the students are working with their workplaces. Workplaces are another place where students can get involved. They do the math, which is so important. And so they might be doing different games or different activities with partners. Finally, there is a good, strong parent connection with Bridges. There is a home connection book that can go back and forth between home and school. And so parents know what the units are, what we're working on, and how they can best support their students at home.
The last thing that we wanted to share with you were some of the challenges that we're noticing in this first year. I'm not going to read it, but I just want to point out some of the themes that we saw. The biggest one being time, being a factor, time for teachers to plan, time for teachers to prepare materials. Another piece was that because we have so many hands-on materials and lots going on between Number Corner and lessons and workplaces, it's a lot of management, like materials to management for kids. So that puts a little extra on our teachers in that way. We're working to navigate through it, and we're getting better at it. One teacher commented how they're like, okay, it was a lot of prep at first, but we're getting in the groove. So those are just some of the things that we're working through to help support that. We're working with teachers during that PD time monthly that we talked about on the timeline to help provide a little extra time as much as we can, and then to assist with the prep of materials as well. So we just wanted to thank you for your time, and we look forward to what the future holds for us at Hadfield with our adventure in Bridges.